Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Tamaraos. Welcome to the Far Eastern University Career and Placement Office Pre-Employment Preparation Talk or PEP Talk webinar series for the second semester of school year 2021 to 2022. This is Ron Gascon, the coordinator of the FEU Career and Placement Office or CAPO, and I'm also your MC and moderator for this afternoon's PEP Talk. PEP Talk is a regular virtual series designed to prepare the students for employment by equipping them with the necessary knowledge through talks focusing on various topics delivered by industry professionals and experts. And on your screens now, you can see our previous webinars conducted from previous semesters up to the present. You may always rewatch them at your most convenient time at the Career and Placement Office official Facebook page and, of course, at the FU YouTube channel. Today's webinar is also being live streamed via Microsoft Teams and both the FEU and FEU Capo's official Facebook pages. To participate in our question and answer segment, you may submit your comments and questions anytime by posting on our conversation page. For our viewers watching through the FEU Facebook live streaming, we encourage you to engage with us by posting your questions or reactions in the comment section as well. We really anticipate your participation in our pep talk this afternoon. Through effective verbal and nonverbal communication skills, job interviewers and potential employers will be able to determine the level of confidence and competence of job applicants. How can we improve our communication skills to stand out from the crowd and eventually get that dream job? FEU Capo presents its pre-employment preparation talk webinar titled Ace That Job Interview: How to Improve Your Verbal and Nonverbal Communication Skills. This episode is brought to you virtually in cooperation with our digital media partner, the Marketing and Communication Office. Stay tuned as we discover and learn more how we can stand out during job interviews and increase our chances of getting a job offer through effective communication skills from our PEP Talk resource speaker for today. Just a reminder, please make sure that your microphones are always on mute to avoid causing any unnecessary interruptions. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Let us maximize our time by learning from today's webinar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the opening remarks and the introduction of our resource speaker, may I call on the Director of the Career and Placement Office, Ms. Maria Carmencita Babes Suva Alfonso. Hi, Ma'am Babes. Good afternoon. The screen is yours.
Good afternoon, Sir Ron. Thank you very much thank you very much for being here. Of course, I would also like to thank our speaker for being here, our Suki, who never gets tired of contributing and doing her part in helping our students be prepared for the world of work. Ayan. Um, it has been 2 years since the pandemic struck and disrupted many of our usual physical activities, including on-site events. A lot has changed since then, especially in
Focusing
the
on various.
academy. But despite the looming threats of the pandemic, we have continuously shown resilience and innovation. We have shifted to virtual transactions to ensure that our services will not be totally disrupted. True to our commitment to assist the students in preparation for the real world, we recalibrated and redesigned some of our activities to, to consistently provide learning and training opportunities, even in the most challenging times. We are grateful to have supportive people behind us all, our industry partners, our bosses, colleagues, stakeholders, and most especially you, our dear students. The FPU Career and Placement Office, or CAPO, has successfully run a series of webinars to orient our students the basics of working, finding a job, essential know-how on entrepreneurship, or gaining higher studies in pursuit of career goals amidst the new normal. We have also successfully rolled out online activities designed to help prepare our internship and graduating students for the new world of work, some of which include online mock interview with coaching, online exclusive recruitment, online recruitment exclusive for Tamaraos, the FEU's virtual job fair, student exposure to partner organizations or Student Expo, Young Leaders Educational Dialogue or ULEAD, our leadership training, among others. Now, let me show you a short video of CAPO's activities. Video, please. Thank you. Okay. At CAPO, let me do that again. At CAPO, we believe in a holistic approach in our students' career development. Thus, we continue doing our best to offer meaningful activities and programs to help prepare and guide them in their life design, whether they want to have a successful career, build their own empire, or become a freelance professional to thrive in the new normal. And for today's episode titled Ace That Job Interview, How to Improve Your Verbal and Nonverbal Communication Skills, we will learn more about the need to understand and apply, and of course, the importance of being able to communicate both in school and in the workplace. This PEP Talk topic today is very relevant as we continue to adjust and thrive in this new normal way of doing things, not only in school, but in the long term, the world of work as well. Sessions like this will not only provide you with academic perspectives, but real life lessons that each one of you can replicate in your professional endeavors. On that note, I would like to end with my usual reminder. And while it is not going to be easy to sort out the challenges in these new situations that we are in, as professionals, always remember the mantra, be brave, because Tamaraos have always been resilient to whatever comes our way. Always remember that. Thank you very much. And now, without further ado, allow me to introduce our resource speaker. Her background in recruitment started in Hewlett Packard, where she handled different technology roles across different levels, before moving on to leading to the first university team in the Philippines. She is currently the university recruitment lead for Southeast Asia of Johnson& Johnson, where she has been working for 4 years now. Johnson& Johnson is one of FEU Capo's trusted industry partners and is ranked 36th in the Fortune 500 companies of 2021 and one of the world's innovative companies according to Forbes. We're very lucky to have them as our partner actually. Ladies and gentlemen, on your screen, Miss Anne Fevidal. Miss Anne, thank you for being here this afternoon. The virtual floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Babe, Sir Rondell. Thank you, and to the whole team. It's really a privilege for me to be able to talk to you again, um, and to be able to actually just to be invited to these types of talks. I'm very grateful. And maybe just a little bit of a background on what I do in Johnson and Johnson. I am basically handling Southeast Asia, so I handle different countries actually, and I help strategize our campus activities, campus initiatives in each of the country, and especially here in the Philippines. We're really expecting some growth, and we're very fortunate to be able to partner with universities like FEU, as we've seen in a lot of our employees who graduated from FEU, that the education given by the the university is truly valuable in the workplace. And so, why we're here today is because I wanted to share a little bit of how you can be successful in doing interviews, may it be in J&J or in other companies, but hopefully in J&J in the future. Um, and so I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how you can be successful in your interviews, be it with non-verbal and verbal communication. Okay, next slide, please. All right. Okay. So I wanted to start by asking everyone. I'm not sure whether there's capability here to, write on chat. But can anyone tell me, maybe some of you guys would like to chime in and tell me why interviews are important? Anybody here? Okay, so
Yes, Miss Anne, thank you. Yeah, we have here some students here typing their answer. I think that's a very interesting question. Yeah, why are interviews important? Yeah. Well,
and the
most of
reason
them are
why
graduating students. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and the reason why I ask is because of course, it's very important for you to start with that question to make sure that you know your purpose and you know why, you know, you need an interview. So, while we're waiting for some people, the one of the things that are very important in an interview is, of course, for both parties to know. The potential of a future teammate, and how they fit into the team. All right. So, this is also a way for candidates to get to know the role. This is for you to be able to know the role and ask further questions. Okay. So, you'll know a little bit later. What are the things that you can do in order for us an interview to be successful? Next slide, please. All right. So, what makes a successful interview? Before I get into it, I'm seeing that I'm queued. Am I still live? Everyone's seeing my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes, Miss Anne, thank you.
All right. Thank you for confirming. All right. So, um, one way that you can really be successful in an interview is through preparation. I'll detail each one of these things in every slide. But another would be is in making a good impression. The third one I would say is being authentic and making sure that you communicate. And this is where there are different ways to communicate. And so I'll talk about these things. I would say maybe just a caveat. You'll definitely have a lot of different articles, different videos wherein you can see how an interview is successful. But for me, as a recruiter for about over 10 years, I believe, these are the things that really I would say matter. All right. So next slide. Okay, so let's get into the preparation first of all. So imagine this: you apply for a position. Let's say it's for a management trainee position at J&J. So you apply for the role, you read the job description, you're very interested, you think you're perfect for the role, you have the right qualifications. You apply and you get a call saying you have an interview with the manager or even just the recruiter, perhaps your first interview. So, this is your first step. This is your first, this is basically a foot in the door already. This is a way for the interviewer to get to know you. It's important that you prepare because, of course, whoever's going to interview you, it will determine the next step for them. What happens moving forward? Do you get the job? Do you get interviewed again? One of the things I like doing when I get an interview, I mean, before when I would go into interviews, is to check where the venue is. Check the time, check my calendar before agreeing to the schedule. You prepare the outfit as well. I mean, even those details, it's also very important. All the smallest details, you think about it, and it will give you very little stress, hopefully, in on the day of the interview. Another way of preparing for the interview is to make sure you research about the company. What do you know about J&J? What's important for J&J? How do you think you can um, you know kind of build rapport with whoever you're talking to? The questions that you will prepare, the research that you will do, will help you have more things to say. Um, I just want you to think about it because, it's sometimes it's not good to have nothing to say and have no questions at all. Um, you would think sometimes you feel maybe embarrassed that you don't have any questions for the person in front of you, but actually asking questions makes me think that you know a little bit about us and you're really interested about the position. So, you know, n- prepare not just questions, prepare um, your research. And from there, when you know your research, it's like doing your thesis, right? When you know more about the topic, then you know more about what questions to prepare during your defense. Okay. So as I mentioned, research, it can be online, but it can also be through friends, through connections. You may think that, okay, I know someone from FEU, so I'll ask them, what's it like working in J&J? That's a very useful way of knowing more about J&J. But if you use LinkedIn and if you take a look at those maybe who graduated from FEU and then now working from in J&J, you're connected with them. It's easy to message those people. Don't be shy in asking those questions. Nothing, you will lose nothing actually. And I've experienced people that I don't really know. I'm just connected with them on LinkedIn, but they do ask me, okay, what's it like working in J&J? How do I get into a company like J&J? Another way is for these types of communications, right? Discussions. Ask me questions now. If you have any questions that are boggling you, ask me so that I can hopefully help you out. Um, During the interview, of course, you will be told what type of interview you will have, be it virtual or face to face. So if it's virtual, of course, double check the links if it's working. Double check if you have the right account, you have the right time. If it's a different time zone, double check that. If it's face to face, like I mentioned, check the venue. But to help you further with your interview, practice questions that might be asked during the interview. So how do you do that? On the internet, definitely there are behavioral questions that you can check. Um, it's pretty standard, I would say. I did a little bit of my research as well. But when you answer the questions already, when you answer those questions, um, the best way to prepare is to use the STAR method. So a lot of recruiters would know this method. It's a way for you to organize your thoughts, organize how you are um, being able to have a clear and concise answer So, for example, I ask you, have you have is was there ever a time um, when you had an experience working with a team member who you did not agree with? So you start with a situation. Yes, I had a project. Our goal was this and that. What was the task? So I was tasked to handle the project management there. But what I actually did, which is the action, I did most of the project management as well as the, let's say, the publicity materials. The result is very important, which is the letter R, because this is where the interviewer will see your impact. Impact is important because all of these things that you did, what exactly, how did you move the needle? How did you affect the outcome of the project? Was it successful? Did the audience like it? It would help if you have numbers, especially if you can present numbers. A quantitative way of saying things would also be helpful. Backing everything with data would really be a testament to the result of the project. So those are the things that you can prepare. I would say actually the rest of the things I would say to you today is still part of the preparation. But I think one thing that I did not indicate there is when you're planning, for example, your outfit, make sure that you're dressed pretty well. You're dressed for success. I mean, I know it's kind of cliche, but sometimes when you dress the part, sometimes you really feel like you're already there working. So, you know, do put a little more effort, especially when you research the company. Okay, this is what they wear. They're very casual. They can even wear shorts. But should you wear shorts? Of course not. You can still be business casual, right? So, don't forget to be professional. So, next slide, please. All right. So actually, I sent the team a PDF. It should be like one photo. Uh, what do you call that? There's this animation, but I wanted to hear from you guys. I want this to be like very interactive for us. So on the first picture, the girl in yellow. Can anyone tell me what you think this person is thinking? If you see this person, you're just watching that person. What do you think she's thinking? So anyone can, just type in their answers. And of course, obviously, there's no right or wrong answers here.
So we're inviting our students to participants to answer and give their comments. We'll just read
Yeah.
it now
So
from our chat box. Yeah.
thank you. Yes. You can just tell me, what do you think she's feeling at that moment? I think someone answered she's anxious based on her body movement. Okay, that's thank you for that, Abigail. Um I would say yes. She does seem anxious. She seems nervous. And then the bottom person, can you tell me what you think she's feeling while she's being talked to by this person, this guy? She looks a little bored actually. So medyo nakahalumbab yun 'di ba yung tawag? Halumbaba. So parang she's a little bit bored already. She's not pleased to be there anymore. It's like um the interviewer lost her already. And yes, Abigail, she does seem a little bit uninterested. Doesn't seem like she wants to hear from the guy in front of her anymore. Um, and then the last one, the guy in red. So let's. What do you think of him? What do you think he's? What do you think the attitude of that person is?
Miss Anne, we're just trying to read some of the responses now from the Q&A tab. One of the responses here, her mind is flying. She's thinking about the impression on her resume. She's nervous. The girl is quite anxious. She's praying. These are the comments of our participants.
Could
She's
be. Yeah.
praying. Yeah.
Yeah. And
She
then
looks uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah, those
yes.
are the comments from the previous, yeah, and we're still waiting for the response now regarding this guy, on wearing red, rather, yeah. Lazy, according to Nico, lazy. The guy
Yeah.
is lazy. Mhm. What else?
He does definitely. I mean, okay. He
Chilling, just chill. He's just very unprofessional. Yeah, these are the answers of our participants.
yeah.
Too comfy. Yeah.
Mm, yes, yes. I agree. Although of course, um these are I wouldn't say obviously these are just pictures and we don't know what's happening
Mhm.
in their mind, right? We don't know what exactly they're thinking. But because
Mhm.
of how they're showing their body language,
Mhm.
I mean, this guy is wearing a beanie. Let's say this person came in an interview in a tracksuit and sat like that. I don't know his skills, but the immediate reaction for me is, wait a minute, he's definitely too comfortable. That doesn't mean that the interview won't push through. And so the next slide, please. I wanted to show it to you because I wanted you to realize also that um, first impressions are very important. So these are it's the first time you're seeing these people right on the screen, but immediately you're already thinking this girl is anxious, this guy is a little bit lazy, he's just lounging. Sometimes maybe some of you guys would probably think he's a little bit arrogant the way he's sitting, but um yeah, those are what we call nonverbal communication. You're not saying anything yet, but people already think, oh, this guy is not fit for this company. So body language is a very important, um I would say, yeah, a nonverbal communication. Um, I think even when you're waiting at the lobby, you should still show that you're a professional. The goal here is to make sure that you are professional all throughout the interview. The moment you step foot in the company. Another thing is, of course, the posture. So the guy was very slouchy and again too comfortable to the point that he's probably gonna fall on his seat already. That also is one way of seeing maybe the confidence of the person. So imagine I'm sitting like this, and you're seeing me, crouched like that. It's not as good. Um, try to exude confidence when you're being interviewed. Um, Another way of people, I mean, I wouldn't say this is always true, okay? But some people, they also think that a handshake is also very important. Some like it, to have a firm handshake. Some are so firm that it might also not be as good. But unfortunately, I mean, just try your best in this part. It definitely doesn't say, everything about you, but it could also, have an effect in the person's mind when they're interviewing you. um and then of course, be calm during the interview when you're fidgeting. So you know, when you fidget, or maybe for example your hands is on the table and you're making a noise like that, you don't hear it because you're in your mind, you're nervous, you're not calm. And so, you know, it might affect how your interview goes, because you're in your mind too much, you're thinking about things too much. So if you can practice calmness, if you can practice having a clear mind, um, that would really be great. And I think I want to go back to the preparation part here. When you're prepared, when you know your research, I think you can, you know, calm your nerves a little bit better that way, because you know your what you're doing and you know why you're there. Um, and I think for me that really relieves anxieties. If you're really someone who knows, you know, who did your research, and then you're still the type who gets nervous, you know, try to drink water, bring your water. You can excuse yourself if you want to drink, it's fine. So I think what what's great about being in this, you know, being present right now, is that a lot more people are empathetic actually with how others are feeling. And of course, I hope every one of you who's being interviewed in different companies meet empathetic interviewers. So as for me, if someone is nervous, definitely I would give you a little bit of time to gather your thoughts, to you know, if you need a drink of water, that's fine. Um, and so try to make sure to think about what calms you. All right. Eye contact is another thing that may be considered, or may also be, you know, a little bit uncomfortable for other people if you don't look at them directly. So maybe one trick you can do is, instead of just looking them in the eye, maybe look at their forehead. Siguro wag naman sa ulo, depende kung you know, they might be conscious also, but maybe just here, so on their forehead would be okay. I wouldn't say, of course, that this can, you know, make or break your interview, but it does help. It does help to, you know, try to build rapport. This is how you build rapport with your interviewer. And all of these are not just the non-verbal ways of communicating. I'm sure there are a lot more. um, but overall, I would package this as try being confident. And this brings me to my next slide, which is being authentic and being able to really communicate. So I would say, um, when you go to your interview, when you're authentic, when you're honest with your answers, you won't need to be fidgeting, you won't need to be nervous, because you know yourself and you know what you can do. So, of course, you know, FAU are equipped is equipping you with a lot of these skills. You know Excel, you know how to do interviews, you know entrepreneurship even. So having that confidence that, okay, I was equipped with skills, be confident in what you know, but also don't be embarrassed by the things that you don't. And like I mentioned, this is why it's important you still ask questions, where interviewers are not expecting you to know everything. For a fresh graduate, you know, you don't have experience yet, they're not expecting you to know all of the accounting principles out there, um, or all of the, you know, the marketing strategies that you can do. um, but with preparation, with being honest, with the interview and yourself, you can show how authentic you are. And sometimes at the end of the day, that's also how you can exude confidence, because you know yourself well. And what I mean by communicate is to make sure that, don't be shy. Don't be, and going back to knowing your skills, knowing yourself. When you're able to really gauge, the person you're talking to, when you did your research, you're able to verbally communicate what you want to say to your interviewer. Verbal communication is not just speaking. Sometimes it's also a listening. So don't forget, to stop and listen to the question, stop and listen to the probing questions, meaning the follow-up questions. Another way is, of course, to try to make sure that you're able to maximize the time given to you. Sometimes you're only given 30 minutes of the person's time. So, verbal communication doesn't mean that you have to speak the whole time. That's why the method I mentioned to you earlier, the STAR method, is really an effective way of organizing your thoughts so that you don't go into that rabbit hole of talking too much, wherein you lose the interviewer. And when you lose the interviewer in those thoughts, is the, it begs the question: is that still communicating? Have you, gotten to what you really want to say? So think about those things and make sure that you know you're able to maximize the time given to you. I wanted to shorten this actually and make sure that I get more questions, because I know with the Q&A, dun mas lumalabas yung mga, some of the things I might not have added here, right? So I want to hear more from our students actually. So the next slide is actually just a Q&A slide. Um, so yeah, if I may open, I think, yeah, I might have
Yes.
used, I think I'm on time.
Yes, Miss Anne, still on time. Yeah. So thank you so much, Miss Anne, no, for such insightful, informative, interesting talk. We will be proceeding now with a question and answer segment with our students, and I'm sure they are all excited, no, to ask questions, no, in relation to your topic today. And let me start here by one of our students, participating students here. No? John Marmanuel is asking, "Good afternoon, ma'am. I would like to ask and pose a situation. Suppose you are applying for a work with different job description, not related to your experiences. You did everything to prepare for the interview, like you research about the company, about the work, etc. Then suddenly, the interviewer proceeded to technical questions related to the work that you're applying for. How will you handle the situation?" So I think it's something that maybe he already experienced, no, or maybe he's anticipating, no. Yes, Miss Anne.
So just to clarify, when you applied, the job description is different, correct? From what they had um, presented to you during the actual interview. I think this is where the authenticity and being honest comes in. Of course, you don't want to risk going through a technical interview. For example, your this I actually have the perfect role for this actually. So right now we're handling finance leadership development program. So some people are still applying, of course. They because they've had finance roles in the past. They've had finance subjects, accounting subjects,
Hmm.
or maybe not even, but they've they've handled different roles wherein it's finance. Um but in our assessment, we also do an Excel test. Maybe just a tip for everyone here: if you decide to apply, an Excel test, meaning it's a test using Excel, and at the same time an accounting test. So it's just a basic accounting, but you also, first of all, you ask yourself, okay, is this the right role I applied for? So that's where being honest comes in. You talk to the recruiter and say, Ma'am, can I just confirm, is this the FLDP or is this another role? Because I'm not sure whether I'm qualified for this. I don't have background in that test actually, because otherwise you'll be um, I wouldn't say jeopardizing, but more on you'll be biting off more than you can chew. Definitely. Um, if you fail that, then it will go on your records. So right at that moment, if you think you that's not something you have background in, um, be honest. And for the example I gave others, if an accounting test um uh was given or is to be given, and you don't have um background in that at all, but you have finance background, it's just that you don't have the accounting knowledge at all, because let's just say it wasn't um taught. um Still, be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, is this the right role for me? Because if they are asking those technical questions, then that might be part of your job. So, is it something that you want to do for the next 2, 3 years, even 5 years, or even the first 6 months? Because when you're a regular employee in the Philippines, the first 5 months actually is important because that's how you are regularized. So it's something that you can do for the next 5, 6 months. Another thing is that when you ask yourself that, I think this is my third scenario. When you've asked the recruiter, you've asked yourself, and you're okay with that, she's okay with that, she says, okay lang. You answer what you know. And then you think, this is still the right role for me. I'm willing to learn. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of technical trainings I can do. Then go for it. I would say go for it, right? But again, at the very beginning, be honest. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe just to give you a background, in HP, when I was still in HP, of course, we are handling technical roles, right? So, for example, I don't know whether we have IT attendees here, IT folks, but you might be familiar with SAP, the tool, right? SAP. So we hire a lot of fresh graduates. You would think that we only hire computer science, information technology, industrial engineering, or other engineering background. We don't. We even hire economics graduates, other courses. So it's really up to you, and how you communicate what you know, what you think you can do to the person who's interviewing you. So um, sometimes it's, when an opportunity arises, it's really up to you on how you will act on it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss Anne. No, I think you mentioned about being truthful, no, all the time, and yeah, I think these are good situations that you're providing, no, for our participants here. And I think, yeah, you just might want to go on and learn, no, from the experience, and also take it as a challenge, right? No, but again, it's really valuable that you prepare first, no, before venturing in, and of course, no, trying to attend those interviews, no, these job interviews. All right. Uh, there's also an interesting question here from Regina Chelsea Pastor Pide, and I think I would like to moderate this, no, to add this question. I think there are a lot of related questions. Ma'am, what advice can you give for first timers who would undergo their interview? I think this is valuable because some of their internship maybe did not really, conduct a very intensive interview. Maybe some of the questions here about language barrier, speaking in Taglish. Is it okay? Is it okay to speak in Taglish? Is it okay to have, how to improve your manner of speaking? These are some of the questions related here, Miss Anne. Your thoughts, please. Okay, so I think we're having some technical issues no with the connection. But yeah, just to recap, no, somewhat what Miss Anne mentioned earlier, that I think for those mentioning about going for the interview for the first time, you really need to prepare. Definitely. I think when you talk about the question whether what language to use, like what she mentioned, that you really need to research about the company that you're applying for. If you're looking for a corporate position, definitely you might be uh, in a in a better position to really speak in English, because that's the language of the business, right? And of course, you try to know more about the company. Try to make sure that you understand, know its background, its history, its vision and mission. Definitely, your preparation here will help you a lot. Okay.
Hi, Sir Rondell. Sorry, I think my MS Teams crashed. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
everyone can still hear me.
Yeah, we can still hear you. We are still live, no? But we're just giving a recap of what you mentioned earlier while you were out. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
it's
sorry.
okay. Yeah.
So
So
sorry. But yes.
going
Mhm.
back to the question, Miss Anne, no, there are here no anticipating their first time interview sessions, no, regardless after graduation. No, I think I'm mentioning earlier it could stem from the fact that when they did their internship, maybe they did not undergo an intensive interview or a really formal interview. So, any tips or advice on how to hurdle their very first interview? Well, coupled with some of the questions here, is it okay to talk in Taglish? How to improve your manner of speaking, and how
Mm,
to deal with difficult questions during the interview, Miss Anne?
yeah. So I think the best way here, I think I mentioned it earlier, is to really practice um behavioral questions. There are a lot on the internet on how you can or different questions you can prepare. This is something I give my my candidates sometimes as well on how they can best prepare. So sometimes I would open an Excel sheet. I'll put all of the questions there. Of course, I'll also take a look at what values are important for the company I'm interviewing for, and then choose interview questions that may be fit for those for that company. I I put them on one column, and then I follow the star method as well. So the situation I put in one column, task, action, and then result. That's how I practice my answers so that it's really like clear and concise. Um, Maybe that's something you want to do as well, like use an Excel file to, or even like a table to practice. Um, I think really practice is just something that um, it helps you think about the things you did kasi. So remember when you're interviewed, the interviewer will be asking about your experiences, the things you have done already. And sometimes, I mean, even in of course, when you're a fresh graduate, you would think, oh, my background in the org might not be as interesting, right? But you have to think of those things because baka yun pala yung hinahanap nilang sagot. Um, and sometimes we can't think about it on the onset na eh, because we're too busy being nervous, too busy thinking about what example to give. So
Hmm.
by practicing, by laying out all of these questions, by reviewing your resume, you also are able to see all of the things that you've done that you might not have seen before. You might
Yeah.
not have thought about before. So, I mean, I still do that. I still like, okay, do the star method Excel file.
Yeah.
Um, Regarding the language, I would say use English language. Mostly because a lot of the companies right now, whether it's a traditional company, definitely if it's a multinational company, you would encounter all the emails in English, materials in English. if it's a multinational company, you're probably going to talk to an interviewer, or maybe someday, if you're in the company already, a teammate who's not in the Philippines. So it's still important that the interviewers see that your English communication is okay, at least.
Yeah.
So normally I would tell my candidates to speak in English, because I also think about that when I'm interviewing, or
Mhm.
I'm assessing candidates.
Thank you so much for reiterating no the value of practicing no, and for our student asking this no, you can also avail one of the main services of the career and placement office, which is the online mock interview with coaching activity. This will really help you know address this issue no how to prepare no for your internship and job interviews in the future. So thank you so much for reminding about the STAR method, Miss Anne. I'm also using this no, as part of the coaching no, when we do the OMIC. But this is really for all the students here from first year to fourth year, and even the alumni here listening and watching this pep talk. It's really important to really practice. Miss Anne, there's an interesting question here. I'll try to paraphrase this question. No. Is this really part of the practice of the HR no, of companies not to tell the results of the interview, whether they passed or not, especially if they did not pass? And you know, the applicants that were actually waiting for several days and actually becoming anxious about the result. Your thoughts here, Miss Anne?
Yeah, definitely not. As much as possible, we'd like to give. I mean, to be honest, I'm part of that problem. Unfortunately, it really depends on the system. Most recruiters have a system they use online.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when you're moved in the system, sometimes hindi na siya nakaka-update agad-agad in real time, right? Sometimes when you shortlist candidates, time goes by, tapos hindi na siya, or you need more time to assess. But definitely, of course, as much as possible, we'd like to provide an answer right away. But with all the admin stuff, I guess most recruiters have a hard time doing that within 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not bad to ask
Mm-hmm.
and send an email. Sometimes, candidates would email me, "Hey, can you please?" I mean, they don't email me like that, but they ask me, "What's the status, Miss Anne? Because I would
Mm-hmm.
like to know. I have other offers. I have other companies, but." Whatever this company's priority, ganyan. It's not bad to ask them. Just nudge them a little bit, nudge your
Mm-hmm.
recruiter a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Um, just yeah. But I'm sorry for all of the recruiters who has not responded right
Yeah.
away.
I can only
On behalf of
imagine,
all of
Miss.
them.
Yeah, Miss, and I can only imagine how the volume of emails that you're getting, no, especially for Johnson and Johnson, which is of course no, one of the largest and most reputable companies. They're really trying their best to know their status and of course be part of the company definitely. So yeah, what we got there is to really ask. It doesn't hurt no to ask, no, and for your status, no. I think they're also interested, Miss Anne, no, based on your own experience. What's the hardest question you've asked during a job interview?
Um,
And what are your tips to answer that question? I think they're trying to anticipate that maybe in the future you'll be the one to interview them when they join Johnson and Johnson.
oh my gosh. Hardest, to be honest. To be honest, I would say everything is hard, if I'll be honest, because it's really up to you and on your experience. Eh.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it's only hard when you don't prepare and you don't have any example. But it doesn't mean na kung wala kang example, that's
Mm-hmm.
it. You can tell me you don't have any examples of that. Is there anything that but this is probably something helpful that I can provide you in terms of an answer. So what I would say is that um I'll answer this muna, and then I'll give some sample questions maybe a little bit later. But when you don't have an answer, kaya mahirap kasi wala ka masagot siguro, right? Kahit sa akin nangyayari yun, please understand. I'm like, I don't have an example. But sometimes we can't let it end there. Um, Offer another sample wherein this might work medyo half-half, pero I'll offer it to the interviewer. So for example, tell me a time when you had a leadership uh, position and
Mm-hmm.
was leading multiple teams, and
Mm-hmm.
and you have never led a team, you have never had a leadership position. So why don't we turn it around?
Mm-hmm.
I've never had, a formal leadership position. I've never handled teams, but in the publicity team, I was a member. And actually I was the one who led this certain, like, poster material for a certain event. So all of the event materials there I handled. So that's kind of leading you know, a certain project also, because you handled it on your own. Um, I also had, other members ask me for their help, although I'm not their formal leader. They've asked me for help and solution to, questions on Photoshop, questions on Illustrator, Final Pro, or something, and I've helped them, kind of mentor on that piece. So what I'm saying is that sometimes you don't have the answer, the specific answer, but try to
Mm-hmm.
think outside of the box. How can I answer this question? Still be able to showcase my talent, my
Mm-hmm.
skills, even though I don't have that specific experience.
Yeah.
So it's just really trying to sit outside of the, rather, think outside of the box. Don't just sit outside of the box.
You have to think, no, yeah. That question came from Charissa Palacio, no? And if you can see
Indeed.
also, Miss Ann, no, more than 200 students are still joining us, no, kumapit talaga sa ating until Q&A, because they're really interested in this topic. And one of the questions from Leona Isolan, no, how can we properly frame ourselves during the interview? What are the things we should and we shouldn't share during an interview? I think it's also connected to Nasret Ong's on Tog's question, rather, because in the interview there are some information that you might want to tell and not to tell, and how to leave a good impression to the interviewer, no, and to ensure that you're not becoming an oversharer, no, during the interview. Yes, you know, Miss Anne, your
Yeah,
thoughts, please.
sorry, I have to go back to the star method. I'm sorry. I know
Yeah.
it's like the same
Mm-hmm.
answers, but for you not to overshare, the
Mm-hmm.
reason why sometimes we overshare is because the mind is cluttered.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's cluttered, we just want to share everything. We just want to say everything because we think this is our time. Baka mawala pa tong opportunity na to. So I have to tell them lahat ng mga pinaggagawa ko sa college. But, sometimes oversharing, or rather over sharing your skills might not be the best way, especially kung merong specific questions na hinahanap.
Mm-hmm.
The goal here is to answer what they're asking. What exactly are they asking you?
Mm-hmm.
If you overshare, you might be telling them something na hindi na connected dun sa topic.
Yeah.
So always think about, okay, what's the situation? Again, the STAR method. What's the situation I was in? What was expected of me? What did I do? And what was the result? So yun talaga, I would say it really is helpful, because again, you can organize your thoughts when you're nervous, and when you're cluttered. That really is, ano talaga, word vomit sometimes. And that happens to me also, by the way, in meetings, na parang, alam nyo ba, meron akong ganito, ganyan. And then all of a sudden, okay, gawin mo na lahat. na Napagawa na sa akin lahat kasi nalaman na nila na I can do these things, or like, things like that, na parang napa-overcommit ka na. It's similar to
Mm-hmm.
when you're working. Napa-overcommit ka na kasi ang dami mo sinabi.
Yeah. Interesting, Miss Anne, no, because our students are really engaged in this discussion, and I think yeah, not just only because your mind is cluttered, maybe you're becoming emotional during that time. Maybe there are questions that triggered your emotion. Like we always say, no, na out of the fullness of the heart, no, the mouth speaks. No, so you really have to also guard your emotion. Of course, based also on your background, Miss Anne, no, what are your thoughts here to really help our candidates here to contain their emotions during the interview? Yeah.
Um, honestly, it happens. I've had people cry during the interview
Yeah.
because they're about to share their life also, diba? Sometimes you're asked certain personal questions, and if you think it's usually it's emotional because it's too personal.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think it's too personal, um you make sure that you tell the person, I'm sorry, this is a little bit too personal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually, yeah, this is probably too close to home. So if I may not divulge a lot of the details, but rather, talk about just these few things to you, I hope it's okay. Like I mentioned, times like this, a lot of people are already empathetic. We've gone through a lot of things
Yeah.
during the pandemic, right? And I believe people are now um, know more about the mental and the stress that happens to us emotionally. And so, again, be honest, and you don't have to tell that. I'm not saying be honest, sabihin mo yung life story mo sa kanila. But, if it's too personal for you,
Mm-hmm.
you think if you talk about this, you will cry and you don't want to, tell them it's okay.
Yeah. I think we
And
will go back to what you're saying, Miss Anne, earlier, that you really have to be authentic and communicate.
yeah,
Definitely.
and if it's not something they like, maybe it's not the right, you know, um, time for you yet for that company, right? So, I mean, that's the truth. Sometimes it's just not the right time yet. So, just be authentic with yourself and with the person you're talking to.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think we're done with we're down with the last question. I don't know if you're still asking this question, but most of them will really ask this now. How do you answer this question? Like, why should we not hire you? Is it something that's really happening in the interview? Like, is our recruiters or talent acquisition officers still asking that question? Why should we not hire you, Miss Anne?
Mm,
I always
so,
get that question during our coaching. No, sir, how do we answer this question? Yeah.
sige. I haven't encountered because I sometimes sit in even in other countries. The
Mm-hmm,
most I hear actually is in front of other candidates. Kunyari, it's a group interview.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're asked, "Why should I hire you over this person?"
Yeah. Wow.
Sometimes I hear that, but baliktad din natin. Why I shouldn't hire you? Maybe if you can present something that's positive but can be negative.
Mm-hmm,
So, for example, I might be too passionate about
mm-hmm.
something. That sometimes I can be, let's kunyari lang to, just top of my head. You can polish this further, but sometimes I can be too passionate and might dive deep into my work too much that I kind of, you know um lose sometimes the you know I mean, yeah, pwede yun. Let's
Mm-hmm.
just polish that a little bit later. But another example is sometimes I'm too much of a perfectionist.
Yes.
Being a perfectionist sometimes doesn't, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's not always good, right? So
Yeah.
those things that can be, I believe lahat naman may negative, it
Mm-hmm.
can be negative sometimes, right? Like, um, yeah, those are the things that are top of my head. So, mm, think about the things that you like doing na sometimes you're very into, that sometimes might lead to um, something positive,
Mm-hmm.
kahit na parang in your view it's people might like it, might not like it rather.
Yeah. Well, interesting, Miss Anne. No? These are all valuable notes, no comments, and of course, information that we're getting from you. Definitely, no, we're learning from you. That, of course, representing Johnson and Johnson, no, one of our industry partners here, and of course, one of the largest companies in the world. And I think our participants here are really excited now and motivated to really prepare, to plan ahead, and of course research before they venture, and join the world of work, and of course, ace that job interview. Thank you so much again, Miss Anne. This is really an engaging afternoon, and of course, no. Before we end, we have a lot of questions here, no, but definitely we'll just try to share this with Miss Anne offline or after the webinar. Before we end and officially conclude, our pep talk today, we would like to present first this certificate of appreciation to our resource speaker. Let me read the text first. Far Eastern University Career and Placement Office Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Ms. Anne Marie Nicole Fevidal for her valuable contribution as speaker during the Pre-Employment Preparation Talk webinar series titled Ace the Job Interview, How to Improve Your Verbal and Nonverbal Communication Skills, given this 31st day of March 2022 at the Far Eastern University, Manila, signed by Maria Carmencita Babe Suba Alfonso, the Director of FU Career and Placement Office, and Generoso Pamitan Jr., PhD, Assistant Vice President for Academic Services. Miss Anne, before we let you go, of course, definitely no, before we end, are there any parting words or final pieces of advice or final thoughts that you would like to share with our audience, specific note on how to be really successful in their job hunting journey? Especially most of them are graduating students here attending this webinar, Miss Anne.
Yeah, I think one thing, I mean, with everything that we have talked about, all of the questions, I think one thing really stuck is that you have to be authentic with yourself.
Mhm.
Be authentic during all of these interviews. Sometimes you think you have to try too hard, but being authentic and being yourself just might land you the role of a lifetime, the career of your dreams. Just because you are who you are. Um, be honest with yourself. So and know yourself a little bit better. Try to really get to know yourself so that people who's interviewing you can also get to know you.
Thank you so much again, Miss Anne, at this juncture. Again, our thankful hearts, no, and of course, no, and minds are here, no. Thank you for gracing this event with your valuable knowledge and experience. And of course, our students here in attendance, do not forget to answer the online student activity evaluation form, and we will provide you, of course, your e-certificate of attendance. We will see you again in our next PEP Talk webinar. For updates, please regularly visit the Career and Placement Office official Facebook page so that we can also be updated, with the career job posting, and also other events. No? I mean, I think Johnson and Johnson will have something to share. No? We will just post it also on the Career and Placement Office official Facebook page. On behalf of FEO CAPO, the Career Placement Office, we would like to thank also our digital media partner, the Marketing and Communication Office, for making this live webinar possible. Many thanks also to our dear students, faculty members, and employees for joining us this afternoon. We hope that you learned a lot from today's pep talk. And as we end, may we invite everyone to join us in singing the FEU hymn. This is again your MC, Ron Gascon. Keep safe, everyone. Be brave. Tamaraos. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending our pep talk this afternoon. See you again on our next pep talk. Stay safe,